The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution with which any panel member is associated. Reproduction or dissemination, other than for the purpose of education or information, without the expressed written permission of the Phoenix Research Institute or Nova Society Media is strictly prohibited. Welcome back to the Nova Society, the space where dialogue deepens understanding and civic responsibility comes to life. I'm Dr. Mark Bound, joined by my partner in crime, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and together we'll unpack the stories that matter most, exploring the headlines and history. The big ideas shaping today's conversations. Let's dive in and hear what our guests and listeners have for us today. So you have an interesting story from Chicago. Before we get into the Knicks questions, tell us about your Chicago story.
All right. So this is really a story about the importance of sports more than anything else. I mean, we do this podcast. We talk about politics and world affairs and things like that on it. We very rarely talk about sports, but, you know, both of us are big sports fans. And I think it's important for people who listen to us who don't understand that what this means, you know, what this championship by the Knicks means to me. And by way of explaining that, discuss this story. My friend Tom McHugh is a fantastic actor, lives in New York, but he's as Chicago is deep dish pizza. He is a great guy. Chicago, like third generation Chicago from Ireland, really big Chicago fan. His father lived his entire life without ever seeing the Cubs win a World Series. Probably was alive for the Steve Bartman game that really prevented them from getting into the world. And he couldn't pass up this moment. He flew to Chicago. He got a ticket for Game 3, which was the first time that the Cubs were in the World Series in 71 years. It included his father's entire life. And he brought with him, and I'm a little fuzzy on this part of the story, whether it was some kind of token of his father as a jersey that he used to wear, or a handkerchief, a T-shirt, or something he brought with him. And he sat with it in Wrigley so his father could be there spiritually with him to watch the Cubs play in the World Series. And they won that.
That's a great story.
For me, it's more basketball than baseball, I think. We were a basketball family. It's the only sport that my dad really loved. He played it in summer leagues in the Catskills when he was younger. He said he played against Bob Cousy once. That was like a big story for him. And we played in the backyard all the time. And, you know, my older brother went on to be a very accomplished high school basketball player, almost made it to Princeton to play for, you know, the legendary coach there. Didn't quite get it, you know, but was a fantastic player himself. My younger brother is like an incredible basketball player. I am not, but I played it as long as my legs could hold out. I played it until I was well into my 50s, almost 60 years old. And for those who don't understand this, it is family, it is legacy, it is so spiritual, it is so deeply ingrained in us when we follow a team our whole lives. And in some cases, you know, we're second, third generation fans of a team. It's just bred in the bone. And that's really all I wanted to say about it. What this Knicks championship means to me. And I actually put this before the season, I think on Facebook at some point, where I'm getting old. Like I'm going to be 64 this summer. I was 11, I think, or 10 the last time the Knicks won the championship. And I was beginning to think that it wasn't going to happen. I've been disappointed so many times. And you know, it's something to ask your kids. It's one thing to ask your kids to go to Wrigley It's another thing to ask them to go to Madison Square Garden
Yeah,
during
yeah, yeah.
and bring a shirt for me, would you? Son, the tickets are only $10,000 a piece.
And
but they spared me having to ask that, so I'm really grateful for this team on a number of levels.
And you know what? You're right, Scott. My wife grew up in Chicago. Linda grew up in Chicago. Her father, who tragically died of MS while she was still a teenager, basically he never got to see the Bears win the championship. He never got to see the Cubs win. And I remember that when Linda's first child was born, her mother was standing over. She was in the room when Adam was born, and she looked down at the baby and she said, "Lair Bear, the Bears won the Super Bowl." And then, and my wife loves telling that story. And then when the Cubs won the World Series, my wife is not as big a sports fan as I am. She's aware of it. I remember the Cubs won the World Series. I'm walking down the hall. She's in the shower singing "Go Cubs Go." I didn't even know she knew the damn words to this song, but she knew every single one. And then when she came out, I said, I don't get it. She goes, "That's where my dad would take me, Wrigley Field. He would take us, she played on a softball team, a girls softball team, and he'd take all the softball team." And she goes, "I spent my childhood in Wrigley Field." And I said,
wow.
it's a great, it's something that brings families together. It could also tear families apart a little bit. My grandmother was a huge Yankees fan. I hated the Yankees, but hey, it is what it is. But that's a great story.
Yeah, now, just Tom McHugh, love you, brother. And what you did for your dad to feel spiritually close to him is amazing.
That's special.
And I'm so grateful for this Knicks team, as well as relieved and just love every minute of it. And I'm loving life right now. So let's go.
We'll turn ourselves over to the questions. All right, Scott, a whole bunch of emails. Basically directed right at Scott Gershwer because everybody seems to know that he loves the Knicks. And we have 10 questions. 10 questions from 10 different listeners. Scott has not had these questions beforehand, and he's just going to answer them off the cuff. So the first question comes from Robert, who I believe lives by you. He's in Connecticut. And Robert asks, so at the beginning of the season, we all know that New York fans always think their teams are better than they actually end up being. Do you think the Knicks were better at the beginning, your assessment of them, than they actually ended up being?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would not have dreamed that this was going to happen. I would not have dreamed that they would win the championship. I thought they were a pretty good team. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals last season, lost to the Indiana Pacers, who went on to lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder. All the teams in the West looked better on paper, at least. And, in practicality, as the season went on, the West was as one guy put it, they were the varsity and the East was the JV. And whoever came out of the East was just going to be cannon fodder, basically. So this was completely unexpected. And after last season, I was one of the supporters of firing Tom Thibodeau, who I think is a really good coach, but really limited the team in some ways that I didn't like. Made life very, very difficult, I thought, for Cat. The Knicks, when they're at their worst, are standing around watching Jalen Brunson dribble and try to get free and open, and that is a recipe for disaster. So they needed to come together as a team. They needed to use their bench. Check both those boxes this year. Mike Brown did an amazing job, and the team developed over the year. They were not the same team, even though they only added one other player, Jose Alvarado, who's a tough kid from Brooklyn. Love him, and they added him, and he really, provided some sparks off the bench. Landry Shamet, who was on the team last year, but might have been hurt. I'm not sure if I remember that well. Really came together as the season went on, and the team developed really nicely. They, I don't know if you know this, but they have a core of 3 guys who all won a championship at Villanova together. They
Right.
won the NCAA championship. And so they were really good friends. And it was kind of sad. Dante DiVincenzo, who would have really been great on this team because he's a terrific outside shooter, is one of the best three-point shooters in the league, had to leave in the trade that brought Cat over. So he wasn't there with the team, with his brothers from Villanova. And so they did miss him, but they kept Deuce McBride, who's a tough little guy, and provided them with another spark off the bench, good three-point shooter. Didn't have a great playoff, at least in this last round. And but the team really came together. And I'll just say this about this Knicks team, that one of the things that began to dawn on me as the playoffs were going on, and remember, it looked like the Atlanta Hawks could possibly beat them in the first round.
Right.
They were the only team that beat the Knicks twice, and the Knicks looked bad in those losses, even though they were tight games. They were like, I think they were within 4 points. I forget, maybe both games within 4 points. And but as they went on, it began to dawn on me that they were sharing the ball a lot more than most teams I've ever watched in my life have. And it reminded me of the two championship teams that I saw when I was a kid. Now, the last time they won a championship, I was 10 years old. I was a huge basketball fan. My whole family is. We had a hoop in our backyard. We used to play all the time. It's always me and my dad versus my older brother and my younger brother. And but those teams were legendary for sacrificing their games for the greater good. And even like the 73 team, they brought over Earl Monroe from Baltimore. They traded for him. And everybody was like, how is this backcourt going to work? Because you had Clyde and you had Earl, and they both needed the ball. And to his credit, Monroe took a back seat to Clyde, sacrificed his game. I mean, this is a guy who could score every time down if he wanted to. And he became a much less selfish player and a more team-oriented player. And Red Holtzman, the coach back there, really put them together, and they developed nicely. And this team did the same thing through the playoffs. I think I watched most of the Knicks games, if not all of them. You had to get an app this year to do it. It was ridiculous. But I watched all the games, and there were times when I was like, this is a pretty good team. I never in a million years would have dreamed that this team was going to be a championship team.
Okay. So Michael, who is from Westchester County, asks, who was the biggest positive surprise to you on this Knicks team, and who was the biggest disappointment?
I don't think I have any disappointments. I think that, as I said before, they came together really nicely and played team basketball. I guess if I had to pick a disappointment, it would have been Mikal Bridges, simply because there were times when he just disappeared. Like, he gave up so much of his own game that he just disappeared. But Mikal Bridges is one of the best bad shot shooters in the NBA, I think. He looks like he's taking a ridiculous shot, and it swishes right in and it goes in perfectly. He's usually fading away or moving away from the basket. It is, he was an interesting player to have on the team. If they were going to lose one player, I think it would probably be him that you could stand to lose, because I think he like tried the Knicks a little bit, the fans a little bit, with his disappearing act at times, and they gave up quite a bit for him. I think they gave up 5 draft picks, including like maybe 4 number 1 draft picks over the next, for this one guy. And so they're heavily invested in him. I don't think he's going anywhere, but he would be the one guy that I would say, sometimes his disappearing act was a little much. I always thought OG Anunoby was one of the best defenders in the league. I didn't realize how good a three-point shooter he became. I would say he was probably one of my more happy surprises. OG Anunoby came out of Indiana, won a championship with Toronto, but didn't get to play in that series because he had appendicitis the week before the playoffs started and missed the entire playoffs after having his appendix removed. They went to the championship game that year and won it all, and he didn't get to play in that. So I was real happy for OG. I think one of the surprises of this year that is such a happy surprise, and as I said, they're coming together as a team, is the way that Karl Anthony Towns played. To me, from the very beginning of this year, Karl Anthony Towns is the best player on this team, not Jalen Brunson. And Karl Anthony Towns is a mild personality, kind of a gentle looking guy, uh, prone to some pretty dumb mistakes like fouls that he doesn't need to commit. He has a tendency to grab people and pull them with him as he goes towards the hoop. But they started giving him the ball on the high post, and he distributed the ball from there. Not so much in this last series against the Spurs, but the one before that got them into the finals. He was really the linchpin of the team from the outside. He is probably the best shooting center in the history of the NBA.
Ooh, that's high praise.
Yeah, that really is. I mean, he's a terrific 3-point shooter. He went to the hoop really hard, which was kind of new for me seeing that. I don't remember him. I've known about him since he was at Kentucky, certainly. I've known about, I've followed him. I've played fantasy basketball. So, I've had him on my team before when he was on the Timberwolves. And he's a terrific rebounder. He's a great distributor. He's a really good shooter, fantastic shooter. And is in my opinion, the best player on the team. So I would probably, I'll just leave it at that for that question. I'm sure these things will come up again.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right. So Rocky, who is from Manhattan, and Rocky asks, I heard in a podcast at the very end, you were talking a little bit about the Knicks and their next opponent going into the finals. And you said that you did not believe that the Knicks matched up well against Oklahoma, but the Spurs beat Oklahoma. Was that something that you were probably happy about? And do you think the Knicks would have done as well against Oklahoma City?
Yeah, that's a great question because I have absolutely
because I remember you saying that.
Yeah. I think that as the series went on, the Spurs were exposed. Their inexperience in coaching was really exposed. I think that was the Knicks had an easier time with them. I predicted Knicks in 6, and they made it in 5, which is great. Your collar starts to get a little tight when you have to start going back and forth a little bit towards the end there. And I certainly didn't want to play a game 7 down in San Antonio. But as far as Oklahoma City is concerned, the Thunder were missing their second best player for most of this season and a good part of the playoffs. Jalen Williams, J-Dub, they call him, is a fantastic player, really on every single level. He can shoot, he can pass, he can rebound, he can defend. He's a great player, and he wasn't around. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was also another Kentucky guy. Was the MVP back-to-back seasons. He is one of the best, if not the best players in the league, and he's a handful. So he, like him lurking there, that he's a tough dude, and I don't think the Spurs have anybody who is as good as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and it takes so much energy and effort to shut him down that other players on Oklahoma City were thriving because of it. So yeah, I mean, I don't remember what the question was, Mark, but I thought that they matched up really well with the Spurs. I did predict them to win the series, and I'm not sure that I would have felt that comfortable with the Oklahoma City Thunder as I did with the Spurs.
All right. So we have Tom, who's coming from Syracuse, and he asks, what would be your recommendation for the Knicks for next season, as far as as far as players and front office and all the rest.
Tom's not one of those sit on your laurels types, huh?
No. Syracuse. I mean, who knows?
I don't know, like the draft is next week, and I don't think they have a draft pick. So I'm pretty sure. So, there's not a lot of reloading going to go on. Look, if you could get Giannis Antetokounmpo, get him. Okay, I heard yesterday that he's going to go to the Heat. I know Boston has made an offer, pretty generous offer. I thought the Heat have a bunch of younger players who are big sharpshooters, Tyler Hero. And a promising young center that they're going to send over to Milwaukee. I don't think the Knicks have they have neither the draft picks nor the personnel to get him, but he would be the one player because I think he's the one player in the league who would scare the shit out of Wemby. Wembyana is 7'4", some people say 7'5". He may still be growing. He's only 22 years old. He's going to get bigger and stronger. He's going to get smarter and more experienced. And I don't think that he's afraid of Nikola Jokic. I don't think he's afraid of most people. I think he probably knows that Giannis healthy is a tough matchup for him because Giannis can do everything that he can do, and he's a hell of a lot stronger and he's not as tall, but that doesn't matter so much. As far as the Knicks are concerned, they're going to bring this team back more or less. I think they're going to lose Mitch Robinson, which is a pity because he's due to get signed and he'll sign probably elsewhere for a really, really big bag of money. And that is a pity because he grabbed the most important rebound of this series off a Josh Hart miss from the foul line and somehow ended up with the ball in his hand, kicked it out. And that was pretty much the ball game. So he's a really important player, best offensive rebounder in the league. I think they're going to lose him. That's going to be tragic. They'll have to find somebody else, but I don't see. I always used to say about Mitch Robinson that he had NBA talent, meaning his body, his athleticism, and rec league skills, meaning that like he would fit right in with the rest of us in the rec league, as far as shooting and all the other aspects of the game. But he's just so powerful and such an amazing knack for grabbing the rebounds that he's a really important piece that they're unfortunately, I think, going to lose. So, there's going to be some re-upping. There's going to be some movement, I think. I got total faith in Leon Rose and the way he put this team together and what he's going to do in the future. Having said that, I wouldn't expect them to repeat. The Knicks are the 8th team in a row not to repeat. Nobody has repeated in 8 seasons, 8 championships, and I think that trend will continue. The league is very, very competitive. It's a lot of fun to watch.
All right. Well, that brings us to the next question, which is from James, who hails from Boston, Massachusetts.
Oh.
And of course, the first thing he said was, go Celtics.
Right. Okay. You say like the Spurs were on Reddit, man, there were so many people going, the Spurs are the better team. I'm sure they're all from Indiana and Massachusetts.
So he's asking, are the Knicks finally a destination franchise again, or is that still wishful New York thinking?
That's a really interesting question. I think so. It always amazed me that they weren't.
Because it amazed a lot of us.
Madison
Big market,
Square,
a lot of money. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do. What's his name from Boston?
James.
James from Boston. All you have to do is look at the careers of Walt Frazier and Joe Namath and see what those guys got out of being a winner in New York. And, the Jets are a cursed franchise. Some people say that they sold their soul for that one championship, Super Bowl III. Joe Namath, I have heard this. I don't know if this is true. Joe Namath had, after that Super Bowl, never beat a team with a winning record again in his entire career. I actually saw Joe Namath's last game for the Jets. I believe it was against the Rams the last time I saw them. And he was so banged up. His knees were so bad that he did like a little quarterback sneak thing and he waved the tackler off. He basically said, "Please don't hit me." So like with the hand movements, you couldn't hear anything, but his hand movement was like, but he's gone on to get TV commercials and he did a movie and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's just so much. Like he's still an icon, and he's still Madison Avenue worthy. And the same thing with Clyde. I think the same thing with the 86, some of the 86 Mets who didn't destroy their careers with cocaine, or die way too young. The winning in New York, especially in basketball, I think, because Madison Square Garden is the mecca of basketball. I mean, Stephon Castle probably felt right at home because UConn plays a lot of home games in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Even though they're way out in Storrs, Connecticut, which is closer to Boston. And so, this is the place. Madison Square Garden is the place. It is the most amazing place to be. Just being in that room is kind of fills you with awe. I've talked about how the room bounces, how crazy the fans are, how knowledgeable the fans are. And hopefully the Knicks will be a destination that people want to come to. It took a long time. I remember I came back from a trip from Mexico with my family, and on the plane, somehow or another, I don't even remember if there were cell phones back then, I learned that Isaiah Thomas had been hired by the Knicks as their president, general manager, maybe even head coach, I forget. And thinking, okay, this guy's a winner. He's going to turn this around. And he didn't. It was like one more guy failing. Phil Jackson, same thing. Don Nelson, same thing. Like just ridiculous. Coach Brown, who had been in San Antonio and Indiana, came here and was awful. It just seemed like they just couldn't get out of their own way for the longest time. And, to an extent, Amari Stoudemire turned that around. Carmelo Anthony sort of turned that around a little bit. But yeah, they're going to be a place where people want to play, especially if you want to win a championship and never have to buy a beer the rest of your life. This is the place to be.
Definitely the place to be. So from Albany, New York, we have Renee, who asks, how much of the team's identity is tied to Jalen Brunson? And is the front office doing enough to support him long-term? And as a follow-up, are you still one major piece away, and what piece is that to become the dynasty?
So first, I'll start backwards. There are going to be no more dynasties. That okay. Concept is over in the NBA. There's parity in the league. There are a lot of great players. A lot of teams have them. We're kind of moving away, hopefully maybe moving away a little from this big three theory that was like, the Celtics had a big three in Ray Allen, Garnett, and Pierce. There's been big threes all over the place. I'm not going to name them all. And getting back to like more of a team concept where everybody on the floor can score, even off the bench. And three-pointers have become way too important. There's a lot of problems I have with the NBA, three-pointers being one of them. They need to move the line back. They probably need to widen the court a little bit. That's a conversation for another time. So I don't think the Knicks are going to be a dynasty. I think they'll be back, maybe. But I don't think that there are going to be any dynasties. Sorry, Boston Celtics fans. And so is Brunson the identity of the team? Absolutely. I mean, Brunson is the little engine that could. This guy was a second-round draft pick. He was basically dropped by the Dallas Mavericks. They basically just let him walk for nothing. And when the Knicks signed him, there's a video going around of all these sportscasters from ESPN and other places saying that the Knicks are making a huge mistake, that Jalen Brunson's too small, he's too slow, he's not good enough, he's not Allen Iverson, which he's not Kyrie Irving, which he's not, and that he's not going to be a transcendent player. And he is. Jalen Brunson is the identity of the Knicks because he's so tough, because he's so self-assured in a quiet way, determined, gritty, New Yorky, just professional. And I mean, my heart fills with love for the guy. So like video of him playing with his daughter before the game, letting her run around the court and stuff like that. Again, so Mark, maybe you'll remember this, like relate to this. In the Mets yearbook in 1969, they had a page where all the Mets and their children were on the page.
Right.
And I remember Tommy Agee and his son and other players and their small children. I mean, these are young men with small children. And there's one where Josh Hart has his daughter on his lap, and she's like in diapers. She's that young. And he gets called into the game, or he gets called to do something, or whatever it was. I don't know what the circumstances were. It wasn't during a game because she wouldn't be on the bench. But he had to get up, and he just takes his daughter and puts her in Mitch Robinson's lap, who's sitting next to him. And Mitch Robinson just entertains her while Josh Hart is, running out onto the court. That's the kind of camaraderie and love for one another. The Oklahoma City Thunder have it. The Knicks have it. I don't think the Celtics have it. I don't think the Philadelphia 76ers have it. I don't think the Miami Heat have it. Certainly not the Bucks. Certainly not the Bulls. You can go down the list. I didn't even think the Spurs have that. Certainly not the Lakers. So, that sort of cohesion, that sort of team concept, that sort of like love for one another, being in the trenches, fighting for one another, doing Josh Hart grabbing like a rebound. The guy's he's 6'5" and he's out rebounding centers and power forwards. Just because they won't give up. That sort of thing is, fills you with pride as a New Yorker, fills you with pride as a fan, and I think it's amazing.
Oh, that brings us to the next one, which comes from Roger, who is in New Jersey. And he asks, is this the most likable Knicks team since the 1990s?
It's a lot more likable, I think, than the 1990s. So I'm going to go back to 1973 as the most like. Oh, I might. I mean, I don't think the '84 team was a very polished team in any ways. It was Bernard King and a bunch of guys that you've never heard of before. But Bernard was enough, and if he had stayed healthy, who knows what could happen. Yeah, this is a very likable team. That 94, 95 team with Patrick Ewing and John Starks and Anthony Mason and Charles Oakley, that was a good team. They were tough guys. Oakley and Ewing were the leaders of that team, and they were tough guys. They were hardworking warrior types who really could give you a hard time. And yeah, I'd seen a few of that. Like I had one year for Christmas, I got like floor seats almost. There was like a row back right underneath one of the baskets on the side. And I watched how hard these guys hit each other when they're playing basketball. Mm-hmm. The Knicks were playing against Indiana Pacers at the time. Danny Granger, I remember being on that team. I think Paul George was on that team for the Indiana Pacers. And it was the Knicks with Amari Stoudemire, probably Carmelo Anthony. And Amari Stoudemire slammed into Danny Granger. It's like a power forward, I guess, or a small forward for the Pacers. And the look of like hurt on Danny Granger's face, like not pain. I mean, just like, whoa, man, why are you doing that to me? Kind of face, like, well, why are you hitting me like that, man? You have to hit me like that. It was like these guys go at it. People don't realize the NBA is a hard fought league because the reputation is that they basically coast until the playoffs. But they don't. They play hard all the time, and obviously they're human beings. You can't blame them from taking a game off here or there, and load management has become a huge problem in the NBA as analytics basically tell GMs that they need to sit a player for so many games, and they can only play 70 games out of the 82 or 60 games out of the 82, depending on the player. That's a problem. Started by the Spurs, by the way. And so as far as likability is concerned, this is the most likable team I think I've seen since those Bill Bradley, Dave DeBusschere, Willis Reed, Earl Monroe, Dave Barnett, Clyde, those teams.
Okay. So again, we have now this comes from Los Angeles, Stacy from Los Angeles, and it's a two-part question. What moment made you believe that this team was different? And which player do you think embodies New York basketball the most right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Brunson. Look, here's one thing that Brunson did that Patrick Ewing didn't do, and it's unclear to me because I've read several different versions of this story. But however it is, Brunson took less money than he could have gotten one way or another, whether he waited a year to sign or whether he signed a year early and took less money or whatever it is.
Right.
Patrick Ewing wouldn't do that. When Patrick Ewing was in his prime, he had in his contract a clause that said he had to be one of the top three highest paid players in the league. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, for some bizarre reason, signed a power forward who's coming off the bench, never was a starter, I don't think, named Hot Rod Williams. And they signed him to a contract, and he vaulted into third place as far as highest paid players. I have no idea why the Cleveland Cavaliers did that. He wasn't that good a player. He never really panned out as to be a great player. They already had a really good team. But Patrick Ewing went to the front office, or his agent did, and went to the front office and said, I want to be paid. And they had to pay him. And because they paid him, they couldn't sign NBA players. So they went to Springfield Gardens in Queens, and they pulled Anthony Mason off of the basketball court where he was playing with his friends. And he's, 6'10", as big a human being as you'll ever see in your life. I mean, this guy was like a wall. He was like a brick wall. And they said, would you like to come try out for the Knicks? And of course he said yes. And he became a terrific player for them. They went to Oklahoma City or some city in Oklahoma, and they found John Starks bagging groceries. And said to him, would you like to try out for the New York Knicks? And John Starks said, yeah, I'd love to. Of course. I'm bagging groceries. And he came to the Knicks, and he turned out to be a really good player. He had a really rough game 7 in 95 against the Houston Rockets, but a fan favorite to this day. I was in a suite in Madison Square Garden watching a game a few years back, and he came to the suite because he's one of those NBA ambassadors or Knick ambassadors. He came into the suite, and we all hung out with him and chatted with him for a while. And he's shorter than my older brother.
Really?
He's maybe 6'2", probably more like 6'1", 6'2". I think they listed him at 6'3", but I don't think he was even close to that. And the guy dunked on Michael Jordan in one of the most famous posters of all time, and just a fantastic athlete. But they had to sign guys like that because of Patrick Ewing's contract demands. Brunson didn't do that, and so Brunson, to me, is enough of a thoughtful. Now, again, Brunson's a Nepo baby, and Patrick Ewing wasn't. So maybe there's that, right? I mean, Brunson's father was an NBA player. He was on the Knicks. He played against this Spurs team in '99, and so I think he grew up with a sort of privilege maybe that Patrick Ewing didn't, because Patrick Ewing was pretty dirt poor, I think, growing up. So maybe I'm being unfair, but Brunson really is the grittiness. I'd say Hart also. Hart is the heart of the team, no doubt about it. He's one of these guys. He could drive you crazy because he'll get right to the hoop and then pass it way out, which drives me bananas. He's afraid to shoot. At times he was afraid to shoot. He shot the ball really well in the series against the Spurs from the outside, really well. But he's not a flawless basketball player by any stretch. OG Anunoby, that tip-in that OG did, I actually watched a view of that play from the Knicks basket from up above. I guess it was the camera that's on top of the basket. And there was a commentator, and he was pointing out that when they started to come on the court after a timeout, that they had switched personnel. There were different guys on the court than they had originally thought there would be, and the Spurs were confused about who they were guarding. and they were sort of like pointing to guys and saying, I think I have him. And somehow Wemby ends up away from the basket guarding Jalen Brunson,
Hmm.
right? Who takes that three. He misses the shot, but there's nobody 7'5" underneath the basket to stop OG Anunoby from coming in and just skying and tipping the ball perfectly into the hoop.
Yeah.
And when like that is Mark, you'll relate to this. The '86 Mets.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's the ball going under Buckner's legs and them waving everybody home to win that game, or Mookie up in the air as the pass ball goes by, or wild pitch. It is, the Giants with Tyree, that pass that he caught on the helmet. Like, it's one of those moments,
Right.
That is going to live forever in NBA lore. The
Immaculate reception. It's in that category.
Right, but that was the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm talking about the New York. I'm not talking about flyover country here. I'm talking about the New York Knicks, or New York teams anyway. Because again, when you're in New York, and this is where the media is, and the people who are in the media, like not just the anchors and all that kind of stuff, the hosts or whatever, the directors and the producers and everybody, they're all New York sports fans. And so you have these like iconic moments that you see again and again. Prior to this, the most iconic Knicks moment was Willis Reed coming out of the dressing room with a noticeable limp in Game 7 of the 1969-70 finals against the Lakers, and hitting 2 shots and dragging his leg down the court. And then that was it. He came out of the game.
Right.
Clyde went on to score 36 points, have 19 assists, 5 steals, I think 5 rebounds. One of the greatest Game 7s ever, which is why Clyde is always going to be the number 1 greatest Knick. But that was the iconic moment. And if you watch the whole clip, the TV cameras cut to the Lakers and this is the layup line that we're talking about, right? And they're all standing there wondering how Willis Reed is on the court,
Yep.
Because he was like, to call his leg injury gruesome was kind. It was a horrific injury. He couldn't play the game before. He didn't play the game before, but he came out for that Game 7, hit 2 shots, and then Clyde took over and just dominated. That's 53 years ago.
Yeah.
Between iconic moments. But that tip in by OG, that'll live forever. So again, I'm missing. I don't know if I'm answering the question, but yeah, there are a lot of, one of the things about a championship team, and this from your favorite teams, you can't really pick who's your favorite because there are so many that you love.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right there. I mean, and you're right. There's so many iconic moments, and people have to realize it is tough to play a sport in New York City. That's a tough market, because those guys that are doing the interviews, they're not your friends. They are not your friends.
No homers.
That's right. They are good at criticizing. One of the kind of moments that you still see today was Mike Piazza hitting the home run after 9/11 against the Braves.
Right.
And it's just one of those moments that you have. All right. So our last question for you, and it's another little 2-parter here. This comes to us from Jupiter, Florida. And the question is,
love Jupiter.
Is there a superstar worth trading for in the next 12 months, or should the Knicks stay patient? And how do the Knicks stack up against the rising teams in the East over the next 5 years?
Another person who just doesn't want to relax and enjoy the win. Jupiter, come on, man. We have a week till the draft, and I'm pretty sure I haven't looked it up that they don't even have a draft pick. But they traded them all the Nets for Mikal Bridges. I don't know if that starts now, but But in any event, is there a superstar in the league? Yeah, there are a lot of superstars in the league. But if you're thinking of LeBron James, Jupiter, and I suspect you are, that is a big no for me. LeBron James had his chance to come here. He took his talents to South Florida. No, sorry. I mean, I still think LeBron James is a great player. I don't think he can play as many games and as many minutes as he used to be. Obviously, we all get old. But I'm not bringing LeBron James here. I'm not trading for LeBron. I mentioned Giannis Antetokounmpo earlier. He is, he's a big talent. He would be somebody. I don't think they have the wherewithal. They don't got the cards to get him. I can't. Nobody else is coming off the top of my head. It looks like the Celtics are gonna try to trade Jaylen Brown, which is crazy. But yeah, no. I mean, I think this is the team more or less. They're gonna lose. As I said, they're going to lose a guy or two, I think, to free agency or whatever. And it wouldn't surprise me if Leon Rose brought in somebody else to help, but I think this is more or less the core.
So how do you think they stack up to the other teams in the East over the next 5 years?
Well, I mean, Indiana is going to be back because Halliburton missed all this year and he got hurt in the playoffs last year. I mean, look, it is a game where it's a game of attrition in a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely.
So you can't. It's hard for me to. It's like I know the Pacers are going to be a good team. I know the Celtics are going to be a great team. Hopefully, Jason Tatum at this point having come back already. Hopefully, he'll be fully healed by the time he gets to go. There's a up and coming team in Charlotte. There's the Hawks look pretty good. I mean, you get enough draft picks over the years, you could be like, you think about this Spurs team, 3 drafts in a row, you could not draft any better than they did. 3 drafts in a row. They got Wemby the first year. They got Steph Castle out of UConn the second year, and they got they got Dylan Harper the third year. I almost blanked on his name again. I did that last week when we were talking about this. And Dylan Harper has got a really bright future with the Spurs. I think he's a fantastic player. He's a rookie this year out of Rutgers and just a fantastic player. They're going to be great. If they hold it together, they're going to be great. If everybody stays healthy and they hold it together. And I just want to, I think that they're better than the teams that I'm about to name. The Spurs, I think they're a better team, more talented team than the teams I'm about to mention. But there was a time when the Dallas Mavericks with Jamal Mashburn, Jason Kidd, and Jimmy Jackson looked like they were the team of the future. And off the court issues, I don't remember who it was. 2 of them had an affair with Tony Braxton, or one of them has Tony Braxton, the singer, R&B singer, and they broke up. The team broke up because of that. Nothing to do with basketball. 3 fantastic players. The Timberwolves had Garnett and Marbury. What a great start. You start bringing in a couple more guys, and now you've got a team. Garnett got a big contract. Marbury was jealous, couldn't deal with it, had to be traded to the Nets. That team broke up. There was one other team that I was thinking of that, the Oklahoma City Thunder couldn't hold it together. At one point they had like what looked like a young, talented team that could play forever. They couldn't hold it together back then. Yeah. Do
you think basketball is more susceptible to these kinds of issues, the inter-team issues, than say in other sports?
I don't. I think you have to play together, so you're on the court together. Right. In baseball, you get up and you stand there by yourself, right? You're hitting, unless you're part of a double play combination, your timing and all that kind of stuff, your teamwork isn't nearly as important as it is in the NBA. I'm sure it is in football as well, because it's very much a team sport, but there are a lot of guys on a football team. And if you have a problem with one guy, you can find somebody out there to not have a problem with, I'm sure. It's a little tougher when there are 5 of you, who are standing on the court at the same time. It makes it hard to not be great friends, which I think is a special thing about this team. And it's that Villanova connection again. I actually think that Dante DiVincenzo may be a free agent, and he would be a wonderful player to get back if they could, because his 3-point shooting would really add a lot. and he's yet another member of that core group. It would fit right in really well. Other than that, I mean, they stack up. They're the champs. They're the team to beat. So they stack up. This was not a fluke. This is not there's no Michael Jordan in the league anymore who can dominate, probably could have dominated for 7 years straight if he hadn't gotten into the trouble that he got into and had to, whatever it was, gambling or wanted to go play baseball or whatever you want to believe about Michael Jordan. Other than that, he won 3 in a row twice and probably would have won those years that he was out. There's nobody in the league like that anymore. There's no team like that anymore. The teams are relatively even, I think.
Yeah. And I will say this, from from my alma mater, Villanova, Raleigh Massimino always used to say, the best teams I've ever coached were a team of friends.
Yeah. Oh, and look at that team that beat Georgetown.
Yep.
That team didn't have a chance.
No,
I'll bet most people couldn't even name a member of that team at this point. They didn't have any stars. They didn't have any great players. Their best player.
They were playing against Patrick Ewing, who was like the biggest thing in basketball at that time.
Right, absolutely, and they won that game. I mean, that was I remember watching that, going, "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe this is happening." So it's a team sport, and you have to have a good team, and they have to learn to live together, if not be great friends. I think it's a big advantage for the Knicks to have a bunch of guys who are great friends on the team. I don't think you need to go that far, but it helps, and they've got it.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you, we got more questions coming in, but of course, the next one that we're going to do, because this is fun, is about the Mets. And we've got some questions are for you and me. So we'll set up some time that you and me can do this again. And we're going to talk about, and I'm going to tell you right now, the Mets questions are kind of just absolutely digging at us. So that'll be fun.
Well, you know what we should do? We should do that podcast drunk out of our minds, because I don't think there's any way. I don't think there's any way to approach this soberly with Mets. Oh, good Lord. I do have a really good friend who thinks that once Lindor comes back and some of these guys begin to come back, that they're okay. They're not that far out of it that they can't get back into it. And you got to believe, right? You got to believe.
Well, if you watched last night's game, 12-0, maybe not quite so much.
That game was over. I was looking for it and I couldn't find it on Hulu, I guess. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I looked at my phone to get the score, and it was 12-0, I think. And I was like, and the game was over. I mean, that game ended in like an hour. Only one team showed up. We could talk about the Mets, I suppose.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to bone up on it though, because I have to admit I have not been watching the Mets very much. You're certainly not during this playoff run, and even before that, I was like, City Field is basically a picnic ground right now, where people go to eat some good food and have fun with other people and drink and have a good time. And there's a baseball game going on. If you want to watch it, go ahead, but you probably don't even need to.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Scott. Hey,
I'm going to the parade. I'm going to the parade on Thursday, by the way. My son wanted to go, and I was like, you know what? I have not been to a Knick parade. I'm going. So I'll be at the parade. Canyon of Heroes.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you.
All right. Thanks for all the questions, folks. We love you, man. We love you guys who are paying enough attention and wanting to send us questions. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I have to admit, my knowledge of basketball is very limited. At my height, I was never really the basketball player. But yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Thanks, Scott. We'll talk to you.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.
Take care, man.
And that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We want to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing team, Apple Podcasts, the largest source of podcast and music online, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your destination for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. And most importantly, we want to thank you, our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society could not be possible. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing on the platform of your choice. It's easy, it's free, and helps our channel grow. For questions or comments, you can reach us at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So on behalf of Dr. Scott Gershwer and all of our production partners here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power of society is knowledge. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you again next time.